I'm Kay Bess, and this is The Beehive. Women in voiceover, the voices of the fairer sex that keep the wheels of commerce and creativity moving in this country. Voices you hear every day, but names you likely don't know until now. Hello there, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us today in the Beehive. My guest is the most lovely and charming Paula Tiso. You have heard Paula's narration skills recently on a beautiful piece called The Wonders of Burma on the Smithsonian Channel. You've heard her on radio spots for FedEx. She plays Lulu in Final Fantasy X. She also plays the evil Jill Nabat in Final Fantasy XIII. She also played Laughing Octopus in Metal Gear Solid 4. Welcome, Paula Tiso, to the Beehive.
Well, thank you for having me, Kay. I'm thrilled to be here today.
Tell me how you first got into voiceover.
Well, let's see. I was working at
SBV, Sutton Barth and Benari Talent Agency in Los Angeles.
As an assistant to all the agents in the room. Rita Venori had her own assistant, who was my friend who got me the job. And I was the assistant to all the rest of the agents in the room. And I had my theater degree.
From where? Where did you go to school?
Adelphi University on Long Island.
On Long Island.
Long Island. And anyway, so I decided to take a break from doing like the sketch comedy scene. I had a little group that we used to work together and do clubs. And I wanted to just take a break, take a step back. So I got this assistant job, and it was super great because I noticed that, yeah, I could do this. I was first actually receptionist, then I was in the room scheduling auditions, then I was in the booth directing and recording auditions.
Yeah.
And worked with some of the amazing people in the business at the time, but I could do this, I said. So I started taking classes.
And how long were you there before you kind of said, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot?
Probably a year.
Okay.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
So I started taking classes in voiceover, and I got back with my little comedy group, and I was in a show that a producer from what's the network across the street from Sutton Barth? CBS producer was at the show. I did not know this. And she was having lunch with Rita the next day. I did not know that. And so I was at my desk wrapping a bunch of auditions, deadline, and panicking because everything was late. And in comes Rita, slams open the door. She goes, "I need to speak to you." It turned out that the producer had said, you have to see this talent. I just saw this girl in a comedy show. Her name is Paula Tiso. And Rita's like, really? That's my assistant. So that's what Rita wanted to talk to me about. Anyway, to make a long story long. After my husband and I were pregnant with our first, I decided I wanted to leave the grind of a 9:30 to 6:30 job.
Yeah.
I was going to go back to my acting roots. And Rita, as a gift to me, signed me.
How lovely.
It was lovely. It was great. So that's how I got started in voiceover.
You do all kinds of voiceover, right? I mean, you have done commercial work, and you've done narration work. You've done video games. Mm-hmm. You have done promo. You have a couple of affiliates. Walk me through your day. On a day where you've got some auditions and perhaps you have work that you're doing from home, maybe if you have an audition out of house, what does your day look like?
Well, we have a teenager at home, so we're up at the crack of dawn anyway to get her to school, which is good because my affiliates are scattered across the country. So I might get in some scripts. I treat everything like it's,
right now,
ASAP. Even if they don't say it, if they do say it, I try to get everything out as soon as I get it because you never know. So I'll get the daughter out, and I get my butt into the studio with a cup of coffee and a glass of water, and get to work. So I'll get those things out to all my little affiliates, whatever they need for the day, and they arrive at all different times. There's no set time for that. Then I'll get to the auditions that have to be back at a reasonable time. Let's say like a 10 a.m. sometimes we do still get out, right, Kay? Sometimes we go to Hollywood.
Yeah. Every once in a while.
But we are pretty much encapsulated in our little booths. But anyway, so I might run out for an audition for that, which is always super fun to see people.
That's the best part of it, I think, is being able to see people.
Exactly.
We live in our little caves.
I miss the lobby.
Yeah.
But that's dating us, I guess.
Yeah.
And then...
It'll make a comeback one day.
That's right.
I just know everything old will be new again.
I hope so.
Anyway, carry on.
So then it's back to the studio if I got some stuff from my affiliates, because like I said, it comes in at any time. And anything from my New York agent that comes in later in the day, that has to be back at, 9 a.m. New York time, which is 6 a.m. our time, I will do that in the afternoon into the evening and get that stuff all in so that I don't have to worry about it first thing in the morning.
Right.
So that's basically about it. I mean, did I forget something?
I don't think so. What happens, let's say you're out and about, let's say you have an audition somewhere in Hollywood and you get an ASAP from one of your affiliates. Do you race back home? Have you ever just stopped into a studio in North Hollywood or Studio City and said, I need to work? Has that ever happened?
I think it happened once. So basically what I'll do is I'll get on the email back to my producer and I'll say, I'll be home in my studio. I'm out right now at an audition or a job, what have you. I'll be back in 45 minutes. Do we have time for that? And I'll hear back from them. If they need it like ASAP, if I'm still at Elaine Craig, I'll ask, can I just, knock this out and send it off? I think I did that once.
Yeah.
But pretty much it seems as though I just race back home. It's all worked out thus far.
Yeah. Not bad.
I know.
Thus far.
Exactly.
Going on a few decades. Thus far. It's good. What's been your favorite voiceover job?
Well, I think the niche that I love the best is affiliate. I just like it. I like being in my own studio. I like having that the time when I am in my studio to like make it sound exactly like I think it ought to, and I'm pretty much usually right about that.
So you have good instincts.
I have good instincts.
For affiliate work.
I can direct myself very well. I guess we all have to, right?
Yes, and some of us are better at it than others, and it's good to know your strengths, I think. That's good that you know.
Exactly. And so narration is something that I recently have kind of delved into with this Wonders of Burma, and I loved it. And I think that they really treated me like I was part of the team.
Yeah.
And that's a great feeling. I like being part of a team because we are kind of isolated. And it was an amazing piece. It was an amazing piece. It was beautiful. And the voiceover had to be calming and slower paced. I've always been kind of faster paced and not very calm. And I recently have learned that I can do this. Yeah. So it was my more mature sound. When I auditioned for it, I kind of thought, I'm going to sound like I'm a yoga teacher and I'm talking to my class and we're all going to be very meditative and it worked, obviously.
Yeah.
The words were incredible. I mean, I can't even tell you what the names that I had to come up with. And they gave me some pronunciations. I had to go online and listen again. And then I also had to spell it out phonetically sometimes to say this country's cities and different words that came up in the script. But it was beautiful.
Love that kind of challenge.
It was a challenge.
And I think also the plain old storytelling.
Exactly.
It's just, and if you had a well-written script.
Which it was.
I mean, that is like icing on the cake.
Yeah, it was very fun. So I loved that. I think another job that I did, going back to the video games that you had mentioned, I'm kind of avoiding video games.
I'll take those auditions, Paula.
I'll send them your way. They are sending them your way because you're fantastic and you're up for the challenge. I am feeling like, oh my God, am I up for the video games are very challenging. But one that I did years ago for Metal Gear Solid 4 was pretty amazing. I was listening through the door to another actress's audition because you're right outside.
So was this an audition like you were called out of house?
Yes.
Okay.
I was at a studio that does video games.
Got it.
And I was waiting. And for some reason, I could hear her through the door, which I thought, great, somebody's going to be hearing me through the door.
Horrible feeling.
Exactly. But I listened, and then I thought, you know what, I'm walking away from this because you don't want that to get into your
Yeah.
your brainwave. So I walked away, stepped outside, realized that this role called for some histrionics, like major histrionics.
Yeah.
And first thing is like, oh my God, I have to go out there and in there and really
Act.
And then I went, you know what? I'm going to do it, man. And obviously I did, and I booked it. So that was awesome. She was like a character that had kind of cracked. She had a psychotic break, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the really challenging part, she had highs and lows and a lot of laughter and then weeping.
Wow.
She was,
It's like fun.
and she was hot too, man. Anyway, so
You're talking about, what's the name of the character?
Laughing Octopus.
Laughing Octopus.
She was one of the bosses. So she was, I believe, I never played the game. I confess. I believe you had to defeat her.
Okay.
And I don't think that she was that hard to defeat, but she was very challenging to portray. Anyway, so they had melded a male voice with each of the bosses to give it a depth of sound and kind of an odd. So when I went in, the actor was Fred Tatasciore. He had already recorded The Beast.
He's fantastic.
He's fantastic. He's very tall and has a big chest. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy, nor do I have
are.
I don't have a big chest.
You're a petite woman.
Exactly. To match his pacing with his deep breaths, I had to really think about that because they played him in my head and I had to record my lines and I had to match his pacing. And he could go longer with his
Interesting.
air. So that was something that added a whole different dimension that I didn't even know when I went and did the audition.
Yeah.
But anyway, it turned out fantastic. It was really great. It's a great character. I'm really proud of it. It was a big challenge. It was a
Why
huge
you
challenge.
don't want to do video games no more, Paula?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm just avoiding it. Okay. Just give me like a
Get you
promo.
back. Gotta get you back.
All right.
What is the worst experience you've had in voiceover? Do you recall one? I mean, sometimes we don't have any, but I've had a few.
Well, I've gone into.
They're always instructive, I think.
Yeah, let me think. Because, we try to wipe our
Yeah.
brainwaves clear of these moments. I've gone in with dread and walked out pleasantly surprised. And I would say, I don't know if I could actually pinpoint a story because, like I said, I try not to dwell on these things, but I have had, I think out of all the years I've been doing this, I've had one major fail that I felt it was just a major fail. And
what was it? Do you recall?
No, because like I said, I don't want to think about it. But I left there and I didn't feel very good about myself.
Was it the result of feeling like you were improperly cast or the...
Definitely. Okay. I could say this much. It was a video game, which might be the reason why I have such a...
In fact, it was the last video game I did.
No.
Therefore, I'm never going back.
And so there's this kind of secrecy with video games. Sometimes you don't know what you booked.
Right.
And you don't know what they're going to ask you to do as your additional characters. And I was not... I just didn't fit what he needed to cast additionally after I did my character. And I think he got what he needed for several characters, but I felt bad that I wasn't fitting into every little slot.
Yeah.
And maybe that was my own expectation. I did not feel good about that.
Yeah. Just to explain, when you're hired for a video game, the directors can ask you to do up to, I think, 4 roles in a game. Is that correct?
Additionally to the...
Yes, to the primary role that you have been hired for.
Right.
All under the same pay scale. It's you're not additionally paid.
Right.
They have a right to 4 different characters from you in a game if they hire you. So that is to what Paula is referring. Going in, when you walk into a game that you've been cast for a particular role, but you don't necessarily know what other roles you might be asked to play.
Right.
Which
are incidentals that they need to just fill in.
Yeah.
So they do that. But, kind of this session was not well directed. They kind of are supposed to, or I have had them the courtesy of the death, the dying, the screaming being at the very end of the session. And we had already done the death, the dying, the screaming. And so that kind of it hurts your voice a little. I'm pretty good at support. But anyway, so it was just like, it was not the most fun. Yeah. And that was it. I mean, it wasn't anything terrible.
Yeah. If you had to name one person who really gave you a leg up in your career, could you name one?
Yeah, you know what? There's several people I'd have to say.
All right, you can name a few.
Well, first of all, I'd have to say Rita Venari.
Yeah.
Because she gave me that break.
Yeah.
And
they're a substantial, well-respected agency. So, they're like an A-list agency.
Definitely.
So,
definitely.
So
and
that mattered.
It was an awesome opportunity that I made the best with and have continued on. I'd say Chris Zimmerman, casting director. She's been great because I've gotten some real fun stuff with her.
Yeah. And she casts mostly games and animation. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And I have done years ago. I did some guest spots on some cartoons.
Okay.
I still get my $2.50 residual.
Lucky.
Dial M for monkey or whatever the hell it was.
I live for those.
I know. It's like
$1.62 checks.
I just kind of pile them all up, and then I go to the bank one day and I put in $42.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'd have to say John Wasser for affiliate work because I do love it. I love it. It's challenging for a woman to get more work in that field. And there's a lot of women who want to get into that field. And the jobs don't come up very often.
Yeah.
So you have to be completely ready at the drop of a hat to run into your studio and treat it like it's a medical emergency, that only you can solve.
Right.
And Johnny on the spot. And, but I do love it. I like the work.
And it takes a particular skill set, I think.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
Self-direction. You have to have a great sense of timing. It's amazing what they think you can get in 5 seconds.
And you can.
And you can.
And you realize you can. That's part of the skill set.
And not sound badly doing it.
Yeah.
So that...
Can you do it faster but not sound rushed?
Exactly. And it's amazing you can.
You can. Yeah.
It really is amazing.
It's an intangible thing, I think, when you're able to shave off tenths of seconds and, do that. When you can, make it sound more relaxed, but we need you to take a second off. It's crazy.
I love it.
You have children. You have 3 kids and you just one left at home, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how has that been raising children with a voiceover career?
I think it's actually been ideal. I think it's good. I've always been very careful to keep everything compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Whereas where my life can feel crazy and a little out of control and running here, there, and yon, I've always made it a priority to make my kids feel it, that it's not. And be there. I wanted to be there to pick them up from school,
right? Have
dinner together, all this kind of stuff. It's a priority. Now, my kids are spaced out. And so I've been doing this parenting thing for 24 years, spaced out across my kids. And I still have a 15-year-old at home. And so it starts to feel a little bit, not badly, but a little bit like a tether because, you want to bust out eventually after 24 years.
Right.
But, we've got a 15-year-old at home. And so it keeps us anchored in good ways. And then also like, oh, my God, when is she going to college? No, I'm kidding.
I understand. Being a parent as well, I felt like there came a time, and it was a few years in to having a kid. There just came a time when I realized that it was really important for me to draw a boundary and to actually to be brave enough to say to my agents, I can't do that because I have to go pick up my kid. And I remember being so afraid to say those kinds of things because you never want to appear as though you're unavailable or unwilling.
Right.
But man, I think if you don't lay down a boundary somehow, knowing that it's temporary because your kids grow and their needs change and pretty soon they're fine on their own. And,
right.
But it's that initial sort of, I can't do that now. I could do it in an hour, but if you need it now, I can't do it. And to live with it and be fine with it and realize it's just how it needs to be if you are going to prioritize your family.
Right. Right.
And thank God I have, and I'm assuming this has been your experience too. If not, I would be curious to hear about it. But I've been lucky to have agents who've said, got it. No problem. You just have to tell us.
Right.
As long as you communicate with us, we get that. So that's I think that's the mark of a good and decent agent who understands that their clients have lives,
Right.
and will make themselves available as best they can given their home circumstance. And life bears down, right? So
Exactly. I think definitely that's been the case for me as well. And I have had really great agents who have gotten that. I will say that I do believe that if you are not juggling a family and a career, I think you might get places faster.
for sure, there's absolutely a consequence to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the choice that you make.
Exactly.
And I think it's important, it has been important to me, and I know it's been important to you, that family aspect makes me a complete person.
Yeah.
And without that, getting where I need to go with my career faster might not actually be worth it.
Right. Jobs come and go.
That's right.
They do. All of them. Every last one.
They sure do.
And, but my kid doesn't. My kid is here, And,
Right.
So, yeah, once I sort of got over that little piece of fear of, oh, they're going to let me go. They're not,
They're
I'm never going to
think of me
again.
differently. They're going to think of me differently, which I never wanted them to do. It's like I do pride myself in being available all the time, but there are, I do want to be there to pick up my kid.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, it's a big one. What would you say is the most important lesson a career in the arts has taught you?
Resilience. I think it's really important to remain resilient because you don't know where you're going to go. I think that, we all try to control things and to a certain extent, and there really is not a lot of control. You make the choice that you're going to be available. You make the choice this is what you're going to do, and you make the choice to have faith that it will work. And then you need to let go.
Yeah.
Let it take you and be available and resilient, because not everybody's going to think you're the one that they want for the job, even though you think you are the best, right? But there will be those people who have faith in you, and those are the ones we're looking for. And
Right.
You have to remain at the top of your game, and you have to be available at the drop of a hat. And you don't know when you wake up in the morning. This is what I love. When you wake up in the morning, you don't know what direction that day is going to take. And that can be exciting. I wouldn't say that I'm an adrenaline junkie and I need that, because I think a part of me would also like a regular job
Yeah.
where I wake up and I go to work and I'm part of a team. Like I said, on that
Yes.
narration and other projects, when you feel like you're part of a team, it's a great feeling. I like being part of a team.
Yeah.
I like supporting other people. I like the support I get from other people. You don't get a lot of that when you're a freelance voiceover.
Right.
You kind of have to manufacture it in your own head. So yeah, resilience. We have to spring back up when we encounter something that maybe we're not successful in, and keep going.
So this is probably tied to that last question, because if there's anything that we're certain of in the world of voiceover, it's that it's never certain. There are such ebbs and flows. I've always referred to it as the roller coaster, and it's so exhilarating when you're on the climb, and it can be so disheartening on the descent, but you don't have one without the other. And if you can just figure out how to manage the descent, knowing that another climb is coming, you can keep your sanity and stay resilient. So I'm just curious what you do to stay motivated or keep yourself moving forward when work is slow.
Well, there's a bunch of different things that I do. There's a combination of things. One thing I do is I try to, put at least an hour or so in the morning into looking on LinkedIn, looking who I can connect with that day, sending a couple of emails, looking around. If I need to contact my agent about anything business-wise. And then there's the balance of the family. Focusing on, helping my 15-year-old with a project helps me feel like I'm being productive and appreciated. I also garden, not as much lately, but I feel like, it's kind of the garden, you're planting seeds and you're getting ready for the next season. Same thing with your career.
Right.
So that work in the morning is like working in your garden, where I literally will work in my garden if there's a rainstorm coming, I make sure to put something in the ground so that I could see how is this going to grow because of the rain that's coming from the heavens. You know, it
That's
just
fantastic.
it keeps me happy, and you see results. I need to see results, and sometimes with your voiceover career, you're not really seeing results until you get to a certain point. You can look back, and go, oh, wait a minute,
That thing.
I actually okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did accomplish it. It took a little longer than I thought, but yeah, and here I am now, right? So that there's that. And then, of course, there's got to be a little education. So that might be, working with a coach, joining a theater group, whatever you feel you need is going to keep your creativity going.
Right.
And I've kind of stepped away from the voiceover education and I've been taking photography classes because that's creative for me as well. And I think I need to step into like a little coaching. We all need a little tweaking, you know?
Absolutely. I'm a big believer.
Yeah.
Big believer. Sometimes we just grow so comfortable with what has booked for us previously, and trends do change. They may be subtle and slight, but they're different enough such that you can see a trend moving in a different direction.
Exactly.
And you kind of have to stay on top of that. Otherwise, you get kind of stuck in the groove of, the record that, the needle. Is that a really old analogy? A record with a needle? Oh my God. Anyway, for those of you over 100, you would recognize what a.
Hey, that's like retro, man.
Again, everything old is new again.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of that too. But I think your skills get better when you study other things, when you study life.
Exactly. Which is what photography is, studying life. It's like looking at things differently.
Yeah.
And
there's a big parallel there. How do you look at copy differently?
Exactly.
From the way that you have in the past decade or what have you.
Exactly.
Sometimes I see people get so focused on voiceover that it's almost like tunnel vision, but you need all this other perspective from life in order to bring wisdom and depth to your read.
Exactly.
Your perspective matters.
Right.
So
I think that kind of brings you to this concept that I've noticed over the course of a longer career, that you have to reinvent yourself. And I do like little air quotes, reinvent yourself.
Yes.
But I've been thinking about this recently because I feel like I'm in a little need of reinventing myself. But what I do think reinventing yourself is, it's not really reinventing yourself. It's reinventing how you perceive yourself. Because, you get in a little rut. You're seeing yourself, like we were just talking about, that groove in the needle.
Yeah.
My stomach is growling. I have the loudest stomach in the world.
I haven't heard it at all.
Oh,
but
good. It's terrible.
Paula is hungry, just so you know.
I'm hungry. Anyway, it's how you perceive yourself that you reinvent, and then how people perceive you changes.
Yes.
Because of you're moving forward from that place. Yeah. So anything that you do education-wise is part of reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
How you're going to look at your copy, how you're going to put yourself out there, how you're going to approach your agent, how you're going to approach new clients, how you're going to continue to touch base with your current clients. You just have to, there's like a lot of different aspects that you have to keep working.
And because relationships are so important in the world of voiceover, cultivating relationships with people, your director and producer, they don't want to, if you're going to establish a genuine connection with them, you're not going to be talking about voiceover. It's like, what interests do people have? That's how we connect as human beings.
Exactly.
And when you have an interest in life and you have an interest in other people, I think it benefits greatly. And I guess I should say, I think the benefit to your career is kind of a side thing. I mean, you actually get to cultivate a relationship, which is at the crux of it. It becomes a genuine connection,
right?
As opposed to just a faux thing because you think you're going to get more work from this person,
right?
But I have just found that there are some relationships that I have had with directors and producers that are lifelong. That and some of them I rarely get repeat work from them just because their projects don't involve a voice like mine, but I still have a relationship, and and I think that's a great part. It is
a great piece of it. And also, you never know. They might need you again.
Exactly. And yeah, that's very true. We're just about to the end. And I have a little questionnaire here for you.
Oh.
Which you will recognize from the Actors Studio.
Do I have to fill it out?
No.
Oh, you mean you're going to ask me a question?
I'm
Got
going
it.
to ask you a question.
Oh, no.
Do you know this?
I think I have seen
Actors
it.
Studio, James Lipton.
Perhaps, yes.
Okay, so it's just a series of questions. And the first question is, what is your favorite word?
Life.
What is your least favorite word?
That's tough. Drudgery.
What turns you on?
Connection.
What turns you off?
When people are, let's see, the word I'm looking for, when people are, what's that word? When they're not interested, when they're just completely, they're just like, they don't even see you. Disdain? No. It's worse than that. If they don't even see you, they are discounting you, being discounted.
Yeah, that sucks.
Well, because they're coming from a preconception of who you are or who everybody is. They're not seeing people for who they are, and there's no way for you to establish who you are with somebody like that. They're not interested.
Yeah. What sound or noise do you love?
Birds singing. I love that in the morning.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Leaf blowers.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh God, I'd love to be like a director.
In any particular medium?
In any medium. I'd like to just call the shots. Because in our job, we don't call the shots.
No, we don't. What profession?
Did you hear my stomach?
I did. I heard that.
It's so loud.
It was brilliant.
I know.
What profession would you not like to do?
Airplane pilot. And I do think Harrison Ford they should take his keys away. He shouldn't be flying anymore. Did you hear about that?
Again?
Well, he crashed at the
Santa Monica Airport.
It was
years ago.
Yeah, it was actually on the golf course.
Yes, I
Okay?
knew that. Yeah.
No, he just recently, and I'm not sure where, was landing his frickin' plane, and he basically cut off like a airliner that was going to be taking off, and he just, trundled in and landed his plane and nearly caused a he's too old to fly.
Wow, I did not hear that.
Obviously, it's like, take the keys away. He's like hitting his car into the garage wall trying to park it. I wouldn't want to fly an airplane.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Hey, Paula, you've made it. And everybody's here. We're happy to see you. Even all your kitties and puppies you've had your whole life. That's why I want to see you again.
That is so sweet.
I love little animals.
Before we go, I want you to tell people that what you foster.
I foster.
You foster kitties.
I have a little kitty at my house right now in my son's room because he's away at college. And this little kitty, he's like a Russian blue, and his name is Pigeon. But he came on to
the kitty named Pigeon.
I love it. And he's so cute. And he went on Good Day LA last Monday with my daughter Francesca and I. We go on, we volunteer at Kitty Bungalow Charm School for Wayward Cats. And we went on TV with Pigeon.
Kitty Bungalow Charm School for Wayward Cats.
Yes.
Like, what is there a website?
There
Where do you
is.
find that?
Just .org.
.org.
You have to go look. Sean Simons is the headmistress, and she's a role model to us all. She's very hardworking, tiny little nonprofit, and it's run by her, but driven by the volunteers, and they always need new people to volunteer. Good group of people. Anyway, Pigeon's in my guest room, and he's going to be looking for a home. And on Good Day LA, we were calling him Stormy. He got 4 adoption calls already, so we'll see. He might be adopted soon.
I think the kitty named Pigeon is like a cartoon.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
And he's perfect. I wish you could see a picture. Of course, my phone is full of pictures of Pigeon because he's at my house right now. So cute.
Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
PaulaTiso.com. And you can email me. It comes right to my little phone here, and I just get it right away.
And are you on Twitter?
Well, I would say I'm more on Facebook. I need to develop my Twitter more for my career. Right now, I'm kind of using it more politically, so you don't want to know about that. I need to get another Twitter.
You don't want to go there.
No, nobody wants to go there.
Nobody wants to go there. Paula Tiso, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Mwah.
Thanks for joining me today in the Beehive. For podcast notes, pictures, and more information on my guests, visit the podcast website, thebeehivepodcast.com. Find me at my website, kbess.com. Follow me on Twitter at kbess, and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. If you've a mind to, please post a review of the podcast on iTunes. Kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and good for the bones. Come back for more Women in Voiceover next time in the Beehive.